The philosophy of life, navigating existence with wisdom and purpose. In an age defined by rapid change, uncertainty, and a relentless pursuit of success, the quest for meaning has never been more urgent. Amidst the noise of daily life, the philosophy of life offers a compass, guiding us to reflect deeply on questions of purpose, happiness, and the nature of reality itself. It is not merely an abstract exercise for scholars but a practical framework that helps us make sense of our experiences, align our actions with our values, and find fulfillment beyond material achievements. From ancient wisdom to modern psychology, the exploration of life's fundamental questions has revealed powerful insights about the human condition. Whether it is the Stoic emphasis on perspective, the Buddhist acceptance of impermanence, or the existentialist call to create our own meaning, these philosophies provide timeless guidance for living intentionally. In today's world, where stress, existential angst, and information overload are all too common, revisiting these principles is not just beneficial, it is essential. This exploration delves into 10 core aspects of the philosophy of life, examining how they resonate with the challenges we face today. Through this journey, we aim to uncover not only what it means to live well but also how to navigate life's complexities with wisdom, resilience, and a deeper sense of purpose. 1. Purpose and meaning. In an age where burnout and existential crises are becoming increasingly common, the quest for purpose and meaning has never been more relevant. The philosophy of life often begins with one fundamental question: why am I here? This search for purpose is not just about finding a career path or achieving material success but understanding what truly brings fulfillment. Viktor Frankl, a renowned psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, emphasized in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, that having a purpose can help individuals endure even the harshest circumstances. According to Frankl, it is not the pursuit of happiness that drives us but the pursuit of meaning. In the modern world, many people are overwhelmed by the paradox of choice. So many options yet so little satisfaction. Social media platforms amplify this by showcasing highlight reels of others' lives, leading to feelings of inadequacy and a constant search for validation. The result? A growing sense of emptiness and lack of direction. To combat this, embracing a purpose-driven life becomes essential. This involves identifying core values, understanding personal strengths, and aligning actions with long-term goals. Purpose does not have to be grandiose. For some, it could be contributing positively to their community, while for others, it might mean mastering a skill or raising a family with love and integrity. What matters is the consistency between one's beliefs and actions. Philosophy suggests practicing eudaimonia, an ancient Greek concept that means flourishing by living virtuously and fulfilling one's potential. This aligns with modern self-help principles, encouraging individuals to focus less on fleeting pleasures and more on meaningful achievements. The pursuit of purpose is not a one-time decision but a continuous process of self-reflection and adaptation. Setting aside time for introspection, through journaling, meditation, or even therapy, can clarify what truly matters. By understanding and embracing a purpose, one can navigate life's uncertainties with a clearer sense of direction and resilience. 2. Happiness versus fulfillment. In the modern age, the pursuit of happiness has become a central theme in the philosophy of life. However, a growing number of people are realizing that fleeting moments of happiness do not necessarily lead to a fulfilling life. The distinction between happiness, often seen as short-term pleasure, and fulfillment, a deeper, more enduring sense of satisfaction, has become a significant topic of discussion. Understanding this difference is essential for those who seek a meaningful existence rather than just temporary joy. Happiness is frequently linked to external factors, buying a new gadget, traveling to a beautiful place, or achieving a career milestone. While these moments bring joy, they are typically short-lived. This is due to the hedonic treadmill effect, where people quickly return to a baseline level of happiness regardless of positive or negative events. For instance, someone who wins the lottery might feel ecstatic initially, but studies show they often return to their previous happiness level after a year or two. On the other hand, fulfillment is about internal alignment and living in accordance with one's values and purpose. It's about engaging in activities that contribute to personal growth, serve others, or leave a lasting impact. This concept is closely related to eudaimonia, a term used by Aristotle to describe a flourishing life achieved through virtue and reason. Fulfillment involves making choices that might not provide immediate pleasure but offer profound satisfaction in the long run, like investing in relationships, pursuing meaningful work, or overcoming challenges. The clash between happiness and fulfillment is evident in the rise of burnout culture. Many people chase achievements that promise happiness, high salaries, prestigious titles, or social media recognition, only to find themselves exhausted and unfulfilled. This has led to a shift towards embracing purpose-driven living. For example, movements like minimalism and digital detoxing encourage focusing on what truly matters rather than being distracted by superficial pleasures. Balancing happiness and fulfillment requires conscious effort. Practices such as gratitude journaling, mindfulness, and setting intrinsic goals aligned with personal growth rather than external validation, can help maintain this balance. Recognizing that happiness is a byproduct of meaningful living, rather than its end goal, can transform how one approaches life. In essence, the true philosophy of life might not be about choosing between happiness and fulfillment but understanding how to integrate both. A life that balances moments of joy with actions that lead to lasting satisfaction is one that not only feels good but is also worth living. 3. Minimalism and essentialism. In a world overloaded with information, possessions, and endless options, the philosophies of minimalism and essentialism have emerged as powerful antidotes to the chaos. While both concepts advocate for a simpler life, they approach it differently. Minimalism focuses on reducing excess, decluttering physical spaces and mental bandwidth, while essentialism is about identifying and prioritizing what truly matters. Together, these philosophies offer a pathway to clarity, focus, and a more meaningful existence. The core idea of minimalism is the intentional removal of things that do not add value to one's life. Popularized by movements like the minimalists and books such as Goodbye Things by Fumio Sasaki, minimalism challenges the consumerist mindset that equates more possessions with more happiness. Minimalists argue that by decluttering, one not only frees up physical space but also reduces decision fatigue and mental stress. This approach resonates in a world where people often feel overwhelmed by their belongings and distracted by endless notifications. On the other hand, essentialism, as presented by Greg McKeown in his book, Essentialism: The Disciplined Pursuit of Less, is about making deliberate choices. It's not just about having less but about doing less of what's unimportant and more of what truly matters. Essentialism invites individuals to evaluate every commitment, task, and relationship with a critical eye. Is this the very best use of my time and energy? This philosophy counters the modern tendency to equate busyness with productivity. By focusing only on what is essential, people can achieve greater impact and satisfaction without burning out. The popularity of these philosophies reflects a broader dissatisfaction with the hustle culture that glorifies overworking and accumulating more. Social media trends like #declutter and #simple living showcase how minimalism and essentialism have gone viral. appealing to those tired of keeping up with the Joneses. Additionally, the digital minimalism movement advocates for cutting down on screen time and focusing on meaningful digital interactions, further emphasizing the value of less but better. Implementing minimalism and essentialism requires a mindset shift from, "How can I get more?" to, "What can I remove that isn't adding value?" Practical steps include decluttering living spaces, limiting commitments, and practicing mindful consumption, buying only what serves a clear purpose. For essentialists, techniques like the 90% rule, only saying yes to opportunities that score 90% or higher in importance, and time blocking can help maintain focus on what truly matters. Ultimately, both minimalism and essentialism advocate for quality over quantity, whether in possessions, experiences, or relationships. They challenge the default mode of accumulating and multitasking, offering instead a life of clarity, purpose, and intentionality. In embracing these philosophies, one might find that having less can actually lead to experiencing more peace, more focus, and more meaning. 4. Mindfulness and presence. In an age dominated by distractions, the philosophies of mindfulness and presence have gained immense popularity as antidotes to stress, anxiety, and the pervasive sense of overwhelm, rooted in ancient Buddhist teachings but widely embraced in the modern West. Mindfulness emphasizes living in the moment, fully experiencing the here and now without judgment. Meanwhile, presence involves a state of deep engagement with the current task or person, free from past regrets or future worries. Together, these philosophies offer a pathway to greater clarity, peace, and fulfillment. Mindfulness can be understood as a practice of conscious awareness. Jon Kabat-Zinn, a pioneer in bringing mindfulness to the West, defines it as paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. Through mindfulness meditation, individuals learn to observe their thoughts and emotions without being swept away by them. This practice helps in breaking the cycle of rumination, the tendency to dwell on negative experiences, which is a common source of anxiety and depression. Scientific studies support its effectiveness in reducing stress, enhancing focus, and even altering brain structures related to emotional regulation. Presence, on the other hand, extends beyond meditation to everyday interactions and tasks. It involves a commitment to deep work, focusing fully on one activity without succumbing to distractions. In relationships, presence means truly listening without formulating responses prematurely. This quality of attention not only enhances productivity but also strengthens connections with others, making life feel richer and more meaningful. The rising popularity of these philosophies can be seen in the explosion of mindfulness apps like Headspace and Calm, as well as the increasing adoption of mindful practices in workplaces, schools, and therapy. Hashtags such as #mindful-living and #stay-present have gone viral, reflecting a collective yearning to escape the pressures of hustle culture and constant connectivity. Even major corporations, like Google and Apple, offer mindfulness programs for employees to combat burnout and enhance well-being. To integrate mindfulness and presence into daily life, practical steps include starting a mindfulness meditation practice, using techniques like box breathing to ground oneself, or setting specific times for digital detox. The 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. Identifying 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can taste, is a simple yet powerful way to return to the present moment during stressful situations. Critics, however, warn against the commercialization of mindfulness, where the practice is stripped of its ethical foundations and sold merely as a stress relief tool. True mindfulness, they argue, involves not only awareness but also compassion and ethical conduct. Embracing mindfulness as a holistic philosophy of life means cultivating not just presence in the moment but also a deeper understanding of oneself and one's actions in the world. Ultimately, mindfulness and presence encourage us to live fully, savoring the simple joys, accepting the inevitable difficulties, and finding meaning in the moment rather than endlessly chasing the next goal. In a fast-paced world, they offer a timely reminder that life is not a race but a series of moments to be experienced with awareness and intention. 5. Stoicism in modern life. In a world characterized by uncertainty, stress, and a constant flow of information, the ancient philosophy of Stoicism has experienced a resurgence, offering timeless strategies for resilience and inner peace. Founded in Athens by Zeno of Citium around 300 BC, Stoicism teaches that while we cannot control external events, we can control our responses to them. This simple yet profound insight has made Stoicism increasingly relevant today, especially for those seeking to navigate the chaos of modern life with clarity and composure. At the heart of Stoicism is the dichotomy of control, the principle that some things are within our control, our thoughts, actions, and reactions, and others are not, other people's opinions, natural events, or past actions. The Stoics argue that by focusing only on what we can control, we can attain a state of ataraxia, or unshakable tranquility. This idea is echoed in the popular serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. In practical terms, this means accepting life's uncertainties without despair and acting decisively where we can make a difference. Modern advocates of Stoicism, such as Ryan Holiday with his books, The Obstacle is the Way, and Ego is the Enemy, have reframed Stoic principles for contemporary audiences. Techniques like premeditatio malorum, anticipating potential challenges, and negative visualization, imagining worst-case scenarios to reduce fear of them, have become popular tools for managing anxiety and enhancing resilience. The hashtag Stoic mindset trends regularly on social media, reflecting a growing interest in these practical strategies for maintaining calm in a world of chaos. One of the most powerful aspects of Stoicism is its emphasis on virtue as the highest good. The four cardinal virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, serve as a moral compass for decision-making. By prioritizing virtue over external success, Stoics argue, one can build an inner fortress that remains steady regardless of external circumstances. This perspective challenges the modern obsession with achievements and wealth, offering instead a path to fulfillment rooted in ethical living. Critics of Stoicism sometimes argue that it promotes emotional suppression, mistaking equanimity for indifference. However, true Stoicism does not deny emotions but advocates for their rational management. The goal is not to feel nothing but to ensure that feelings do not dictate actions. This approach resonates in a culture increasingly aware of the importance of emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and regulate one's emotions effectively. Integrating Stoicism into daily life can begin with simple practices like morning reflections, setting intentions for the day, and evening reviews, assessing actions against Stoic virtues. The memento mori reminder, remember that you will die, encourages focusing on what truly matters. Cutting through the noise of trivial concerns. Journaling, inspired by Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, is another powerful tool for self-reflection and aligning actions with values. In essence, Stoicism offers a pragmatic and actionable philosophy for modern living. It teaches that while we cannot control what happens, we can always control how we respond, transforming challenges into opportunities for growth and turning chaos into a training ground for virtue. For those seeking a way to thrive amid uncertainty, Stoicism provides a timeless blueprint for a life of resilience, purpose, and peace. 6. Ethics and authenticity. In a world where social media often promotes curated identities and moral dilemmas are increasingly complex, the philosophy of ethics and authenticity has taken on new significance. Authenticity, the commitment to live in alignment with one's true self and values, has become a powerful antidote to the pressures of conformity and superficial success. Meanwhile, ethics, the principles that guide what is right and wrong, provides the moral foundation for authentic living. Together, these concepts challenge us to act with integrity and purpose, even when it is inconvenient or unpopular. The existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre argued that authenticity is about owning our freedom and responsibility to make meaningful choices. For Sartre, bad faith, or self-deception, occurs when we conform to societal expectations at the expense of our true selves. This idea resonates strongly in an age of impression management on platforms like Instagram and TikTok, where the pursuit of likes and validation can lead to a fragmented sense of self. The rise of hashtags like #AuthenticSelf and #Unfiltered reflects a collective yearning to break free from these curated personas and embrace a more genuine way of living. Ethics, on the other hand, is about the principles that govern our actions towards others. Ancient philosophies like Aristotelian virtue ethics emphasize character and the cultivation of virtues such as honesty, courage, and compassion as the path to a flourishing life. Meanwhile, Immanuel Kant's deontological ethics insists on acting according to universal moral laws, irrespective of consequences. In the digital age, questions about ethical behavior have become more pressing than ever. Is it ethical to use AI algorithms that invade privacy? How do we balance freedom of speech with the need to combat misinformation? The philosophy of ethics urges us to reflect on these dilemmas with a sense of duty and responsibility. The intersection of ethics and authenticity is perhaps most evident in cancel culture, a phenomenon that raises questions about accountability versus grace. While holding individuals accountable for harmful actions is essential, the rush to judge without context can stifle genuine expressions of remorse and growth. Authentic living, by contrast, involves acknowledging mistakes, making amends, and aligning actions with values, even when it comes at a cost. Practical steps to cultivate ethics and authenticity include values clarification exercises, identifying core principles that guide decisions, and integrity audits, regularly assessing whether actions align with stated values. Practices like radical honesty, speaking the truth in all situations, challenge individuals to move beyond convenience and embrace a life of integrity. This approach not only builds self-respect but also fosters trust in relationships. As people recognize and appreciate genuine intentions, critics argue that the pursuit of authenticity can sometimes justify selfishness or a disregard for social norms. However, true authenticity is not about acting on every impulse but about making choices that are consistent with one's deepest values. It requires balancing self-expression with ethical responsibility, a challenge that demands both courage and wisdom. Ultimately, the philosophy of ethics and authenticity invites us to live with intention and integrity, refusing to wear masks or compromise values for convenience or approval. It challenges us to ask, "Who am I when no one is watching?" and to act in ways that reflect that answer consistently. In a society that often prioritizes appearance over substance, this commitment to authenticity and ethical action is not only revolutionary but profoundly necessary. 7. Freedom and responsibility. The concepts of freedom and responsibility are central to many philosophical traditions. But their relevance has never been more pronounced than in today's world. As individuals gain unprecedented freedoms, from career choices to self-expression on social media, the question of how to wield that freedom responsibly becomes increasingly urgent. The balance between these two forces shapes not only personal fulfillment but also the fabric of society, raising profound ethical and existential questions. Existentialist philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus argued that freedom is inseparable from responsibility. For Sartre, freedom is the ability to choose one's actions, while responsibility is the unavoidable consequence of those choices. He famously stated, "We are condemned to be free," highlighting the weight of having to define oneself through actions without any preordained path. This perspective counters the modern tendency to view freedom merely as the absence of constraints, suggesting instead that true freedom lies in making meaningful, value-driven choices. In contemporary society, the rise of the gig economy and remote work has expanded personal and professional freedoms but has also blurred the boundaries of responsibility. The freedom to work from anywhere, for instance, comes with the responsibility of managing one's time, finances, and well-being without the safety nets of traditional employment. Similarly, the freedom to share opinions on social media is counterbalanced by the ethical responsibility to avoid spreading misinformation and to respect differing viewpoints. The hashtags #freedom of speech and #accountability often trend together. Reflecting this ongoing tension, the paradox of choice, a concept popularized by psychologist Barry Schwartz, also illustrates the dark side of freedom. While having more options might seem empowering, it often leads to decision paralysis and dissatisfaction, as individuals struggle with FOMO, fear of missing out, and regret. Stoic philosophy addresses this issue by emphasizing voluntary simplicity, the idea that freedom is not about having unlimited choices but about being free from the tyranny of desires. By embracing constraints voluntarily, one can find greater peace and focus. The ethical dimension of freedom and responsibility extends to societal issues as well. In democratic systems, the freedom to vote comes with the responsibility to be informed and to consider the common good. In the context of climate change, the freedom to consume must be weighed against the responsibility to future generations. Philosophers like Hans Jonas have argued for an ethics of responsibility that prioritizes the well-being of both present and future lives, a view that resonates with the growing popularity of sustainability movements and hashtags like #ActOnClimate. Practical ways to balance freedom and responsibility include setting personal boundaries, saying no to commitments that do not align with core values, and practicing consequentialist thinking, considering the long-term impacts of actions. In relationships, this balance manifests as the freedom to express one's needs and the responsibility to communicate them with honesty and respect. In leadership, it involves the freedom to make decisions and the responsibility to be accountable for their outcomes. Critics argue that too much emphasis on responsibility can stifle creativity and lead to burnout, especially in a culture that already glorifies hustle mentality. However, an authentic approach to responsibility is not about taking on endless burdens but about owning the consequences of one's freely made choices. It requires distinguishing between obligations imposed by others and commitments that align with one's values. In essence, the interplay of freedom and responsibility challenges us to live with intention, to make choices that are not only free but also meaningful and ethical. It invites us to ask, what kind of person do I want to become? And to act in ways that bring that vision to life. By embracing both freedom and responsibility, we can build lives of purpose and integrity, guided by principles rather than impulses. 8. Purpose and meaning. In a world where traditional paths to meaning, such as religion and lifelong careers, are increasingly questioned, the search for purpose has become one of the defining pursuits of modern life. Philosophers, psychologists, and spiritual leaders alike argue that a life without purpose feels empty and directionless, leading to a pervasive sense of existential angst. Meanwhile, the rise of movements like Ikigai, a Japanese concept meaning reason for being, and hashtags such as #FindYourPurpose reflect a collective yearning to live intentionally and meaningfully. At its core, purpose is about aligning one's actions with a cause greater than oneself, whether it's family, community, a passion, or a global mission. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, captured this idea powerfully in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, where he argued that even in the face of unimaginable suffering, having a purpose transforms existence into something bearable. According to Frankl, the primary drive in life is not pleasure, as Freud suggested, but the will to meaning. His logotherapy approach, which helps individuals discover meaning through actions, relationships, and attitudes, has since gained widespread acceptance. In the professional realm, the demand for purpose-driven work is reshaping corporate culture. Employees, particularly millennials and Gen Z, are increasingly seeking roles that align with their values and contribute positively to society. Terms like conscious capitalism and triple bottom line, people, planet, profit, are becoming mainstream as businesses realize that purpose is not just an ethical imperative but a competitive advantage. For entrepreneurs, defining a mission statement that captures both economic and social goals has become a strategic priority. However, the search for purpose is not without its challenges. The sheer number of choices available today can lead to what some psychologists call purpose anxiety, a paralyzing fear of choosing the wrong path. Social media exacerbates this by presenting a constant stream of seemingly meaningful lives, creating a distorted perception that everyone else has it figured out. Philosophers like Albert Camus offer a different perspective, suggesting that even in an indifferent universe, one can find purpose through rebellion, choosing to act meaningfully despite the apparent absurdity of existence. Practical steps to discover purpose include engaging in self-reflection exercises, such as the 5 Whys technique, asking why 5 times to uncover core motivations, and strength assessments to identify skills that can be leveraged meaningfully. Practices like journaling and vision boarding can help clarify long-term aspirations, while the 80.00 hours framework offers guidance on making career decisions that maximize positive impact. Critics argue that the obsession with finding a singular life purpose can be counterproductive, leading to endless searching and dissatisfaction. Philosophers like Alan Watts counter this by emphasizing purpose in the moment, the idea that meaning can be found in small, everyday actions rather than in grand, overarching missions. This view resonates with the growing popularity of mindfulness practices, which encourage savoring the present rather than constantly striving for the next big thing. Ultimately, the philosophy of purpose challenges us to live with intentionality, to choose actions that resonate with our values and to pursue goals that extend beyond mere self-interest. It invites us to ask profound questions like, what impact do I want to leave on the world? And to craft a life story that reflects those answers. In a time when meaning can seem elusive, embracing purpose offers a pathway to a life of fulfillment, resilience, and deep satisfaction. 9. Balance and moderation. In an age characterized by extremes, whether in work, lifestyle, or beliefs, the philosophy of balance and moderation offers a timeless yet increasingly relevant path to well-being. Rooted in ancient traditions such as Aristotelian ethics and Buddhist teachings, the idea is simple. Happiness and fulfillment arise from avoiding excess and embracing the golden mean, the virtuous middle ground between deficiency and excess. In today's fast-paced, all-or-nothing culture, this approach serves as a powerful counter-narrative, advocating for sustainable habits and a more mindful existence. Aristotle's concept of the golden mean argues that every virtue lies between two vices. For example, courage is the mean between cowardice, deficiency, and recklessness, excess. Similarly, generosity is the balance between stinginess and wastefulness. This principle can be applied to modern challenges like work-life balance, where burnout from overwork contrasts sharply with the dissatisfaction of underachievement. The hashtags #work-life balance and #slow living often trend on social media as more people seek to escape the hustle culture and embrace a lifestyle that prioritizes mental health and meaningful connections. In Eastern philosophies, moderation is central to achieving harmony. Buddhism's middle way, for instance, rejects both hedonistic indulgence and extreme asceticism, advocating instead for a path of balance that leads to enlightenment. This principle has found a modern echo in the rise of minimalism, the intentional reduction of material possessions to focus on what truly matters. Popularized by movements like the minimalists and hashtags such as #minimalist lifestyle. This approach challenges consumerism by promoting the idea that less is more. However, achieving balance is often easier said than done, particularly in a society that equates more with better. The paradox of choice illustrates this well. While having options is a form of freedom, too many choices can lead to decision fatigue and dissatisfaction. Philosophers like Epicurus argue that true happiness comes from limiting desires and finding contentment in simple pleasures, a perspective that aligns with the growing emphasis on mindfulness and gratitude practices in wellness communities. Practical strategies for cultivating balance and moderation include setting clear boundaries, both in relationships and work, practicing the 80-20 rule, focusing on the 20% of actions that yield 80% of results, and adopting digital detoxes to combat information overload. In diet and health, the concept of intuitive eating, listening to the body's hunger and fullness cues rather than following restrictive diets, has gained popularity as a balanced approach to wellness. Critics of moderation argue that it lacks the passion and intensity required for transformative achievements. Visionaries and leaders, they point out, often embrace extremes to disrupt industries or drive social change. However, the philosophy of balance does not advocate for mediocrity but for sustainable intensity, the ability to pursue ambitious goals without sacrificing well-being. It challenges the assumption that burnout and success are inseparable, proposing instead a model of peak performance based on rhythm and recovery. Ultimately, the pursuit of balance and moderation invites us to pause and reflect, to consider not just what we are chasing but why. It encourages a deliberate approach to living, where every action is measured against the question, does this serve my well-being in the long term? In a world that often pulls us to the extremes, embracing balance is a radical act of self-care and wisdom, offering a pathway to a life that is both productive and profoundly fulfilling. 10. The power of perspective. In a world increasingly polarized by conflicting ideologies, the ability to shift perspective has emerged as a vital skill for both personal growth and societal harmony. The philosophy of perspective suggests that how we perceive reality shapes our experiences, decisions, and ultimately, our lives. By consciously examining and expanding our perspectives, we can break free from limiting beliefs, cultivate empathy, and navigate life's complexities with greater wisdom. One of the most influential proponents of this idea was the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who argued that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The Stoics believed that while we cannot control external events, we have absolute control over our interpretations and responses. This philosophy resonates strongly in today's wellness culture, where practices like cognitive reframing and mindfulness are advocated to manage stress and anxiety. The hashtag change your perspective frequently trends on social media, often paired with stories of resilience and personal transformation. Modern psychology supports this view through the concept of cognitive biases, mental shortcuts that influence our perceptions and decisions. For instance, the confirmation bias leads us to seek information that aligns with our existing beliefs, reinforcing a narrow perspective. Perspective taking, a practice encouraged in both therapy and leadership training, involves actively considering viewpoints different from one's own. Research suggests that this practice not only enhances empathy but also improves problem solving and creativity by exposing us to new ways of thinking. In the realm of social issues, the power of perspective is evident in movements advocating for inclusivity and social justice. The philosophy of standpoint theory argues that marginalized groups possess unique insights based on their lived experiences. Understanding these perspectives challenges dominant narratives and promotes a more equitable society. The popularity of hashtags like #listen and learn and #different perspectives reflects a growing recognition of the value of diverse viewpoints in addressing systemic issues. However, shifting perspectives is not without its challenges. Confirmation bias and ego often lead individuals to double down on existing beliefs, especially in the echo chambers of social media. The phenomenon of toxic positivity, the pressure to maintain an overly optimistic outlook, can also distort perspective, discouraging individuals from acknowledging legitimate struggles and complexities. Philosophers like Friedrich Nietzsche caution against naive optimism, advocating instead for an amor fati approach, loving one's fate, including its darker aspects, as a path to authentic understanding. Practical strategies to harness the power of perspective include journaling, writing about situations from multiple viewpoints, and Socratic questioning, challenging assumptions by asking open-ended questions like, "What evidence supports this belief?" or, "How might someone else interpret this differently?" Traveling, reading diverse genres, and engaging in cross-cultural dialogues also offer opportunities to expand one's worldview. Critics argue that an excessive focus on perspective can lead to moral relativism, the idea that all viewpoints are equally valid, which can paralyze decision-making and obscure ethical boundaries. However, the goal of perspective shifting is not to adopt every viewpoint as true but to approach complex issues with greater nuance and understanding. It's about recognizing the limits of one's own perception and being open to learning rather than clinging to certainty. Ultimately, the philosophy of perspective challenges us to see beyond the surface, to question the narratives we have inherited and to seek truth in the complexities of life. It invites us to embrace a mindset of intellectual humility, acknowledging that our view is just one among many. In doing so, we cultivate not only wisdom but also a deeper connection to the world and the people around us. The power of perspective, then, lies not just in what we see, but in our willingness to see differently. Conclusion: embracing the philosophy of life. The philosophy of life is not a set of rigid doctrines but a dynamic framework that helps us navigate the complexities of existence with purpose and clarity. From understanding the nature of reality and consciousness to embracing impermanence, balance, and the power of perspective, each of these ideas offers valuable insights into living meaningfully. In a world marked by uncertainty and rapid change, these philosophical principles serve as guiding stars, encouraging us to reflect deeply, act intentionally, and seek fulfillment beyond the superficial. At the heart of this exploration is the pursuit of wisdom, the ability to see beyond immediate circumstances and understand the bigger picture of life. This wisdom empowers us to make decisions that align with our values, to embrace imperfection, and to find strength in resilience. Moreover, the philosophy of life challenges us to cultivate empathy and open-mindedness, recognizing that our perspective is just one of many. By doing so, we build bridges of understanding, not just within ourselves but also with the world around us. Ultimately, living a philosophically rich life means embracing both the questions and the quest itself. It is about being courageous enough to ask what truly matters, and patient enough to explore the answers over a lifetime. As we continue this journey, may we find both the depth and the direction needed to lead lives that are not only successful but also deeply significant. In this pursuit, let us remember, the goal is not to have all the answers but to live thoughtfully, purposefully, and with an ever-expanding sense of wonder. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. I hope the ideas and knowledge shared have helped expand your perspective and deepen your thinking. If you found the video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the next ones. Feel free to leave your thoughts and comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next video. Wishing you a wonderful day.